There we go, on air once again. Uh, just barely, though, it seems, since both me and at least Tina are not like 100% today. I'm fairly okay, but my voice might fail me anytime. And then I just hope I remember to mute my microphone, because if I don't, it will be painful for everyone. And Tina is having a hard time since she is like, actually, she should be in bed with a
Yes, I
cold.
should. Yeah.
But anyway, this is Be Smart on Air, and I'm Nilo. Hello, folks. And Tina is our expert. In spite of a bad cold, she will be up and about for a while at least. Tina, a couple of words from you to start with.
So, hello everybody, I'm Tina and I'm from Finland, so that's why I'm here, even though I've got some temperature and not feeling very well.
That's
Just
that's
to,
that's the Finnish style, you know.
yeah, guts. We got guts, so we do, or, well, yeah. So we do things even if we don't feel so well. But probably I'll be going in a while, so just to say hello to everybody.
Good enough. And like I said, anytime you feel it's just too much, so you just go and
Yeah.
hit the sack. Of course, today the topic is the Finnish curriculum changes. They've been big news internationally as well. So since Tina is into this stuff, like pretty much full time, is that it, Tina?
Yes, the new Finnish curriculum is my main job at the moment. So especially from the perspective of internationalization of education and global education. So I try to help the schools to sort of we have the core curriculum, and then the schools make their own, sort of prioritize it and do their own sort of versions of it, and that's what I'm helping them to do. So the core curriculum is on a very general basis, and you're so I help the schools to understand what it is about, really.
Yeah, let's get back to that after a little while. If you're still feeling you can cope with it, Tina. And of course, you are working for the Finnish Department of Education. Was that it? Did I get it right, Tina?
Right. Yeah, Finnish National Board of Education, or
National Board of Education. Okay.
It's a project I'm coordinating, but it's financed by.
And you've been, of course, in teaching for many years.
Yeah.
So you know that part pretty well as well. And we have Italy with us today, which is lots of fun, since it seems quite a few of the ordinary crew are not able to join us today, or perhaps someone might be joining later. Marilina, how are you doing?
I'm pretty well, just luckily, not differently from you. Here we've got good weather and yeah, everything is fine. We've got problems with teachers now. Don't know if you heard about that. I shared some pictures of a protest we did, a flash mob that we did to protest against a new contract the government is proposing to teachers, which has got many points we don't like, because it doesn't really care about teaching. It is more concerned about cuts and cutting on wages and using teachers more, and taking off any of the rights that we originally had.
Oh,
I don't know if you heard about that.
Sound
doesn't
good at
sound
all.
very good. No, not at all, because it puts everything in the hands of the principals. and it seems to be to have been written by principals, because they can do whatever they like in the school, and they can hire people, send out people, and do whatever they like. They
Well,
have
if
to
you have a
decide
really
from the
good
curriculum.
if you have a really good principal, it sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is who's going to control the principals. I mean, who sets their objectives? It looks like that in this new bill of law, the principals can set their own objectives, and no one can check on them. So
Interesting.
they're absolutely out of control. That is why we are protesting, and we will be on strike. There will be a massive strike of teachers next Tuesday.
Wow, there's lots of things happening in education in
Yeah,
several
that is why
countries,
I'm
it
so
seems.
interested about Finland. I heard
Yeah,
so many things, and also
yeah, absolutely.
contrasting things about
Um,
Finland.
it's kind of
And
interesting, not least since Finland has been like almost a one of the leaders, top scorers in international comparisons, not least PISA. And I guess last time Finland didn't do quite as well as.
Hi, Helen. Nice to see
Hey,
you.
hi,
Helena,
Helena.
hey, how
Hi,
are you
Helena.
doing?
Hello.
Norway. Great to
Hello.
have Norway with us.
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
No problems. Do you hear us properly, Helena?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Apparently. Great.
Thanks.
We just got started basically, and I don't know if you got the tough news from Finland from Tina, since she's got a cold and fighting it all
Not a
she
cold.
can.
Please
No,
don't
what is
call
it?
it a cold,
Is it-
because
sorry.
it's temperature.
Oh, what is it?
I haven't gotten a cold. No
Just
cold, no cough,
temperature.
but temperature.
Yes, a
In
fever.
other words,
Yeah,
Tina,
fever.
Yes.
you are just fine. A little bit of temperature, that's nothing.
It keeps you warmer.
Yeah, I'm sweating.
For heaven's sake. I think I'm still struggling the aftermath of the flu or whatever, and I don't know, this spring. Well, it's not spring yet. Well, almost spring. Winter has been kind of weird anyway, so not what I'd like to have. It doesn't suit my health very well. But anyway, before we move on with the headlines, Finland has been producing. So Helena, why don't you say a couple of words about what you're doing? You have some kind of a lamp behind your back that makes you kind of a bit shady figure, but it's okay. We can see you anyway.
Yes. Oh, that's good. The last few weeks, I've actually participated in Tina's learning event. So it's been great to be part of an e-twinning group from lots of countries all over Europe, and I've learned a lot of new things and new tools. So it's been interesting, and I've had Skype talks with colleagues from Greece, Turkey, and Italy too.
Wow.
A little bit further north than you, Marilina, from a bit north of Rome. So it's been very interesting, and we've had Skype sessions with my class as well.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yes, very nice. And it's at the same time I've been trying to correct mock exams. So it's like I've been having, several things to do at once.
But well, you guys,
Multitasking.
Yes.
women
yes.
are good at that, doing several things at once.
Well, it
right?
takes longer time, but it was very interesting and fun to connect. So that's good.
Yeah. I think we'll be hearing more about the course later on when we are running the e-twinning special, e-twinning on air,
Yes.
coming up soon. Man, I can't keep track of days. I think there are a couple of e-twinning shows coming up in near future, at least. So e-twinning on air, keep tabs on that, which is also a podcast, but that's another story. What the heck? Before the temperature in Finland, or Tina's temperature, goes way too up high. So let's move on to this curriculum change thing. Little bit of background to start with. I guess I could say that the educational systems especially in Finland and Sweden, I'd guess Norway as well, are pretty much similar, at least seemingly, on the surface. In Sweden, 9 years compulsory education, free lunch, not free lunch in Norway, I believe. Huh?
No.
And let's see, the municipalities have pretty much always they are in charge of the schools. Isn't that basically the same deal in Finland, Tina?
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
But then there are, of course, subtle and less subtle differences, and one thing that is different definitely is that in Finland, man, I'm wiped out.
Finland.
Well, it used to be one country, huh? I made that up myself, pretty cool. In
200 years
Sweden,
ago.
yeah, well, heck, that's just a blink of an eye. In Sweden, so the curriculum has been changed frequently, I'd say, like every couple of years, and it's been a big thing in politics as well, in a way that I think hasn't been the case in Finland at all. And
No,
you guys in Finland, I think, yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I can explain the process because I think it's unique in compared to any place on Europe or even in the world. Is that everybody can join the process of creating the core curriculum. So it's a shared process, and also now that the core curriculum, which we've been doing for 2 years, which been is now finalized, and now we go to the local level. Also there, the students and the parents are included in the process. So it's a huge process and involving lots of people and students and teachers and so on, and different kinds of experts. So the curriculum doesn't come from above in a way, but it is a process involving all the people who are sort of somehow interested in that in education. So it is and it's becoming more and more democratic in a way. So we talk about engagement, and as we talk about engagement in learning, we wanted to engage people also in planning the curriculum. But in Finland, it is always a process. It's never coming from above, never coming from up. It's always been a process.
Oops. Tina, did you mute yourself, or did I do something? Anyway, your audio just seemed to quit, at least on my side. Do you other guys hear Tina?
Yes,
yeah, we do.
Okay.
Perhaps I just...
Tina, can I ask you something? You said that the curriculum is built by the community. Does that happen locally or centrally? I mean, does it happen in, say, districts or whatever?
So it's on the school level. So we have the core curriculum. coming from which has been, we have been doing it for 2 years, and now the core curriculum is finalized, finished, and it was approved at the end of December, just before Christmas holidays. And now we're started the process on
things
the
are going haywire
local
here
level,
on my part.
and of course we're doing.
I don't get audio from anyone now, it seems.
Okay.
You cannot hear any of us, Nilo?
I hear you just fine.
You hear me?
Right
Okay.
now,
You
but
hear me? We hear Tina perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I guess
everybody.
that's the way it is. I'm always the unlucky one, it seems. Whatever is getting messed up, it's on my side here.
Okay.
So you can tell me what Tina is saying. How is this going to work out?
I don't know what to do. And
This is a completely new situation here. How is it even possible? It shouldn't be.
If you
I
want
can't
to hear
understand.
what Tina is saying.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Tina's audio, no for me.
Okay.
So how are we going to play this thing? Am I going to drop out for a while or what? Try again. If I drop out, then the whole hangout goes bye-bye. No, it doesn't, by the way.
No,
not right
it
away.
doesn't. It doesn't. Nilo.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Tina, if you can hear me, will you give me thumbs up, please?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't see any thumbs up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, two.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
How big thumbs?
Nilo, I think there is something wrong with your senses.
My senses are just fine, I'm telling you.
Exactly.
I lost me completely.
I thought it was Tina who had the fever.
Yeah, I don't know about that, you know. All right.
Do you want
I'll
me
mute
to
my
go?
microphone
I can drop out
for a
and
little bit,
try
and
come back.
you guys just might go on for a couple of minutes, and I try to
Tina
look
left.
up. Okay, I wonder if she's going to bed or if she's just having some trouble on her
I think she's coming
side.
back. I think she's coming back.
Yeah. Let's see here. Perhaps this complicated setup on my side is messing things up. But that's something, you know, you always learn. This is something that has never happened to me, that just one participant in the Hangout wouldn't be, her or his audio wouldn't be getting through to me. It's crazy. I know you guys had no problems hearing her all the time?
No.
Oh man, she's
coming back.
Is she back?
Yeah.
Can I hear something as well? Tina, can you hear me?
No one hears Tina now.
No one hears her. Huh.
Not
Well,
yet. Not yet.
Not yet. I guess she's struggling on her side. I was just about to screen share one of these headlines, the big headlines that were in international press after some, I don't know, some journalists had misunderstood what was going on, or perhaps there was some information coming from Finland that wasn't that easy to get right, since some major newspapers had headlines where it said like Finland is scrapping the subjects altogether, and they will be like doing cross-curricular stuff 100%, and that wasn't exactly the case. Hey, now I see two Tina here.
Yes.
And whoa,
Okay.
do we get some audio in here?
I need to go for just 5 minutes, and I'll
sure.
be back.
Wh-
Okay.
When you go, you go. Yeah, good. I was just
No,
about to say
I've just got to get some coffee.
Oh, so good. That's good. I should too.
But
please
Italian coffee is very short, so
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Just mute your microphone, Marilena, when you go. So.
Okay, I will.
Tina, are you getting my audio?
Yes, I am. Can you
And
hear
I'm
me?
getting your audio just
Okay.
great. What on earth did you do? I guess I did something weird.
I use Mozilla now, so I
Okay.
came away from Chrome, yeah, and changed on to Mozilla.
Some learning experience. That is, I just said, it's completely new to me. It's weird because all the others heard you, and I heard them, but it was just me who couldn't get your audio. Very strange things happening. What about me trying a screen share here? You were talking about this new core curriculum. By the way, before I share my screen, when did Finland change anything in the curriculum in this fashion last time? It must have been ages.
No, it was about 10 years ago.
Well, that's what I mean, ages. Sweden has been changing the curriculum every year.
It's about, and that was and 10 years before that. So, so it's a big process, and because we know that, or we feel that if it's not a process, then it won't be implemented. Everybody will do it the way they did before. So how can you change anything if you don't sort of take part in the process?
But that's one thing. We're talking about the differences between Sweden and Finland, for example, in the educational system, and that's definitely one major difference. And I think part of the Finnish success story that you guys have not had these frequent changes, curriculum changes, really, you know. So it's pretty obvious. It gives you a hard time doing something, you know, really good in education if the very basis of what you're supposed to do is changed all the time.
Yeah, sounds.
In Norway, we've had some changes also, but we'll come back to that later.
Yeah, please. That would be really neat. Really interesting. We have several Nordic countries here now. Do you guys see the screen share here?
Yeah.
In case someone might be listening afterwards, audio only. So this is one of the big headlines that have been recently in international press. What's the paper? The Independent. I guess there was something similar in the Observer. It says Finland schools subjects scrapped and replaced with topics as country reforms its education system. So that wasn't exactly the way it should have been, I guess, Tina. I don't know exactly what happened. Was it some kind of a misunderstanding by the journalists, or what was the deal there?
Yeah, it's a misunderstanding. We have what we call phenomenon-based learning and topic-based and project-based learning contents, and but it's not all education. It's just it's partly compulsory, but in the new curriculum, but not. But it's mostly, of course, it's about the teachers and the school culture, how much they work together and how much they want to work together. But there are some compulsory contents, so you have to have one project-based or phenomenon-based sort of period within the school year where you are sort of working together. But if it's just a minimum what you do, then it is just 2 weeks every year. So it's not like, and the rest of the year you do it in your own subjects again. So
it's the traditional way of doing things enhanced by cross-curricular.
Yeah, but we hope that as the sort of project-based cross-curricular approach becomes compulsory, at least in a minimal way, so that encourages the teachers or makes the teachers work together, and that would sort of slowly change the school culture so that
Right.
they start to work together more, because
Right.
they have to work together. Yeah.
Talking
So that's
about this phenomenon-based learning, phenomenal learning
yeah.
is if I just say that it equals cross-curricular project, is that correct?
Yeah, it is. It
Okay.
is. So it's just the idea that it's also about authenticity, which we have been studying with Helen, and it's so it's about looking at things as they really exist. So they don't if we want to know about water, for example, so it's not just a chemical substance, but it's also has a great effect on the nature and on geography and also maybe in art and whatever you can think of. There are lots of poems about water and so
physics.
and physics, and well, anyway, it's like and you can cross the borders a lot, but it's just, it doesn't exist in the frame of a school subject. It exists as a phenomenon with which has a lot of it affects a lot of things, and this is what we want to see, that that everything is connected. We live in a connected world.
Yeah, it sounds like it's all about doing real work, if you like, instead of school assignments.
Right. Exactly.
If I can say something, in Italy we also have something like that now that I'm thinking of it, and 15% of the teaching hours should be devoted to what is called local curriculum, which is something, as you were saying. And about 4 years ago, I used to teach in a school where we had topics that had to be taught across disciplines, across subjects. Like for instance, we decided that we wanted to talk about interculture and these things, and everybody in every subject, like science, Italian, English, and all the other subjects, science, maths, and so on, they were sort of modifying what they were or adapting what they were teaching to fit the topic. And finally, we had what we called, a testing situation. So, for instance, we had been talking about these differences in culture, and we could, once I can remember that we organized a sort of round table with nuns from the Philippines here in Trani, and our students presented the way they live, the way they eat, and all the aspects of their culture. And the nuns presented the way they live in the Philippines, and they brought pictures of houses there and people, what they eat and everything. And that was just done by the students. The students organized themselves for this round table, and they did all this research, and they prepared posters to show the nuns, and this was way before digital came in that school. So I think that this is something, as you were saying, Tina. Is that correct or not?
It's difficult. Oh, it can be a bit similar, yeah. But it's more like not. It's more like working together, perhaps going outside the classroom and really not really just working in your own classrooms, but mixing things and joining things and so it's perhaps it's a bit more ambitious, but of course all the time, always when you cross the borders of subjects, always when you cross make things a bit differently and take a different perspective to things, then it opens your mind and makes you see things from a wider perspective. So in that sense, it's like that, and yeah, but it's not local. It's not, in a way, it's not a local thing. So it can be anything, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when I talk about local curriculum, local stays for school curriculum, school-wide curriculum. It's not like local, regional, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is meant like school curriculum. It is part of the autonomy of each school.
Yeah.
In Italy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That sounds good. Yeah, I think Greece had.
Tina, I've got another question. I read an article where there was an American teacher who came for a job shadowing to Finland, because she was expecting to find fantastic lessons and everything, and new strategies for teaching and so on. Instead, she found that the teaching was quite traditional, and what she writes that struck her was the fact that there was not much pressure on the students and on the teachers, because the teachers were not obliged to test so much. There were not tests all the time, and the teachers were not controlled by inspectors, and the students were not stressed by tests and by results and by what they were going to do, and there were no curricula to teach, and so it meant that you really go according to what your students can do, and you're not obliged to say, I have to teach this argument, this item, this item, this item, this item, and so you stress your students. Is that right or not?
The beginning I think was right, because I suppose the way things are done these days are in a way traditional, frontal teaching, with teachers at the front and students, but we are of course trying to change that. So it's doing things. What we have in Finland, I suppose, and this could be similar to Norway and Sweden, that we have perhaps students are more active in the classes, so they are sort of doing a lot of teamwork, pair work, group work. So quite a lot of learning is organized, so that the students work in groups and teams and share and talk a lot and do things together. So if you go to our classes these days, you seldom see the traditional desks in lines and so on. So they're working in groups. But of course we have curriculum, and the problem with the curriculum, and we follow the curriculum very, very strictly, and the problem with the last one, the existing one, which is now going to be changed, is that teachers feel that it is very strict, and that there is a feeling of always being busy in the classroom, because there are so many things in the curriculum that it's like running through things and without any time to really concentrate and learn about them. It's like running through things, and that's not a good way of learning at all. So it doesn't give time for the students to find the right answers. If you give them the answers, they really don't learn much. They just learn to copy. And if they just have time to find the answers themselves, then they learn much more, and much more sort of meaningful skills and competencies. So we are trying to do that in the new curriculum, that it's not so full packed of lists of things you have to learn from, starting from the frogs, sort of elements of frogs, or grammar issues in languages. So we're trying to get those out, so that it's ridiculous, because you don't learn language by learning the grammar.
The grammar, no. And what about testing the students?
So we don't have national tests. So we have some national tests, I think, but not all the students take them. And of course, if you have PISA tests, like now, they are just, not everyone takes those either. Those are sort of somehow, I don't know how they are picked, the schools who do the PISA tests and so on. So we don't have national testing in all through levels. But we have, of course, normal tests, which so sort of summative tests, I think. For example, in English we have 4 summative tests a year, and usually, but we are talking about even those that they only measure a very limited competence in
sure.
languages or EFL. So we're thinking of finding new ways of testing or assessment, authentic assessment, as we talked about in the learning event. So,
by the way, there is one huge difference between the Swedish educational system and the Finnish one. A huge difference is that there are tons of nationwide tests in Sweden, and it seems that thinking of the last year of the compulsory education, the last semester of the students is pretty much broken down into pieces by all the testing. There are, I don't know how many tests there are, and you don't have. Well, in Finland there are none, basically. Isn't that correct, Dina? With the exception of the really big one when you are leaving the let's see, when you are
upper secondary school.
Upper secondary. When you leave upper secondary, then there's a really big test. But apart from that, no national testing. Huh?
But no. So not in the basic education. So when it's for the upper secondary, when already half of the students have taken the path to vocational schools and half are in the general education path and going to universities and polytechnics. So they take a test, a big test. Matriculation examination, they call that.
Yeah, right.
Not,
I remember.
Not in basic education.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Helene, what's happening in Norway?
Well, I think we have some similarities to Sweden, that we have some changes in the curriculum, but they have been revisions more in subjects, because the last major change we saw in 2006. So it's been quite a few years since we had the a large change, but we've seen more revisions in subjects, and of course in Norway the school and how we learn, it's very politicized. It's up to very much discussion among all the political parties. So it's the whole society is discussing school and assessment. We also see some.
Helena, it's exactly the same thing in Sweden. I guess you know that.
Yes, I think so. And that's some similarities, and but we also have some differences inside of Norway, like the Oslo county. They have a test regime that is a bit more different than the rest of the country. So they test their students every week. and it's been a lot, yes, every week, and even in primary school. And
Wow.
parents are writing articles into the newspapers that my son, he has stomach aches because he doesn't want to go and have another test.
This all the time.
It's very, very, yes. That is in the Oslo school, so it's been up to lots of debate. The rest of the country are more, of course, there are differences some places, but we have national tests, and we have exams at the end of secondary school. But the Oslo school has sort of gone in into a specific test regime that is under lots of debate at the time.
But do they have time to do anything else but take tests?
Yeah, to prepare for the test.
Yes, it's a lot.
Preparing for
the test.
Yes,
Yeah.
because of course Norway has not scored very well on international tests. So they have been placed in the middle, and the politicians are not so happy about that. So they are thinking about more testing. But also a lot of discussion goes into who participates in these tests, because the Oslo school is also allegedly they are only letting some of the students take the tests and not everyone, and so it's under a lot of debate. Yes,
I can understand that.
We have these national tests, but these big national tests, they are you have your first test, I think, in the second year of elementary school, then the 5th year of elementary school, and then when you are 13, before starting high school, and then at the end of then I think
year 10, grade 10.
Second year, we have a different system, but I mean that is, and what they do here, everybody takes a test. I mean, every student. No matter how good they are, how bad they are, what they do is they try to compare the assessment of the teachers with the assessment that is given from the test. I mean, if a student gets a certain mark by the teacher, what would he get with the test, from the test? And also, they try and see if there are different marking criteria within the same school. So according to classes, and they also take into account the social level of students.
But I think that sort of regulates teaching immensely. So if the test, for example, if I think of English, which is my subject, if the tests is all about grammar and things like that, and it's all written and nothing spoken or so on, so that would make me sort of teach those things so that the students would be good in those tests. So they would have also only lessons in grammar and writing and doing things they won't be doing with language after school anywhere. They won't be filling blanks, or they won't be sort of ticking right sort of alternatives in multiple choice questions or anything like that. It will be sort of completely useless thing to and this is something I think it's ridiculous, because I don't think there is such a good way of testing that wouldn't sort of in a way sort of make you teach for the test. And the tests, if they are sort of mass tests, not individually sort of thought out, then they will always be like tests with has nothing to do with real life.
Isn't that a bit like the what the criticism of the PISA tests is all about? That there are apparently allegedly countries that have been teaching their students or preparing them for
do well in those tests.
So I don't know how common that is, but if that really is the case, it's weird.
Mhm.
I don't know, weird.
But in America, in the USA, this testing has been a really a hot issue, because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
teachers there
Yes.
feel that it's sort of making sort of teaching sort of not and learning sort of so in like teaching in a tight jacket, or learning in a tight jacket where you can't do anything, and you can't be creative, you
Yeah.
can't do things you were doing before, because also that it's tied to the budgeting or the financing of the school, so that if you don't do well, you get less money. So you have to do well in the test to get money for your school, and so it's like it's ridiculous. But as you say, we've never had this kind of testing in Finland, and we are doing how we're doing in PISA. Even I don't think the PISA tests are very good tests necessarily, but whatever test they are, they are an example of something. So I just don't
Tina,
think
also
there's much sense in
talking about the way people are discussing what is happening within the educational sector, what is happening in the schools. Like we said earlier, at least in Sweden and Norway, it seems that there is this ongoing discussion all the time about what the schools are doing, what the teachers are doing wrong, what the educational sector is doing wrong. And if I've got it right, Tina, correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that there is no such discussion in Finland, since the educational sector is just doing fine.
Yeah, I think that's true, and of course in Finland, I think that's the same in Sweden. But in Finland, the teacher's profession is still quite a high status, and even though not so well paid, but a high status anyway, and so teachers have university degree. They study for 5 or 6 years at the university to become teachers, so they are very well educated for their profession, and so there is a trust between the stakeholders, the municipalities, and the parents, and teachers, so for the teachers to be professional and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think this is a problem in countries where teachers are maybe have an education of a year or 2 years, and they start teaching, and then there might not be trust.
There are also countries where teachers education is like 4.5 years, like in Sweden, and the pay is teachers' pay is in the pits in Sweden. In talking about like comparing with most of the European countries,
don't compare to Italy.
The status.
Don't compare.
Okay, we leave Italy out. I don't know, but I mean,
Italy out. I think.
Okay, let's compare with Finland again. I compare with Finland again, and the status of teaching is, of course, stellar in Finland compared to Sweden, and in Sweden presently the situation is that anyone, pretty much anyone, can become a teacher. And in Finland, I guess it's pretty much the opposite, huh?
No, yeah. It's like, I think from the applicants, it's maybe 10% that are so 10 times more apply than who are accepted. So it's and it is because of the trust and the status and the feeling that it's relatively sort of. You can do as a teacher. It's not so controlled. If you start testing like in Oslo,
like every day,
I think you suddenly don't have anyone coming to this profession.
But it's interesting, really, when, for example, when discussing these things, what the how people learn and what would be the best way of organizing things. So most of the, I think most of the people in education I've been in contact with agree on that. Yeah, it makes sense working in cross-curricular fashion, at least, quite a bit. And that is an efficient way of running schools, for example. And then somehow, anyway, it gets stuck there, and you just don't do it, which is interesting. We had a project last year, 6-week project, and before we ran this project, we were discussing these things quite a bit in my school, and we said, okay, shoot, we'll give it a try. And of course, we've been doing cross-curricular things earlier as well, but not this big, I'd say. It was about communication. The general framework was came from the teachers, but within that framework, the students were pretty much free to do whatever they wanted, providing they could include quite a few subjects and lots of subject matter in the project. And of course we checked and talked a lot with the students about the stuff that's really important in the various subjects, and what things were they needed to like build in their work. And it really turned out pretty good, I must say. And both the students and we teachers were very happy about the whole thing afterwards. Of course, it isn't as easy to run this thing when you are working this way, and the assessment is hard as well, I guess. And of course, we didn't have a major test, in the end of the 6-week project, but there were, of course, the students were like showing in different ways what they had been working with and what they had learned.
Yeah, I think it's like, even though it is demanding, as it's not the same as before, but then on the other hand, when you are working together, it's like you can give your expertise, and someone else can give his or her expertise.
Absolutely.
So it's like you don't have to do things you're not good at or you don't like. You can divide work indifferently when you're working together, and I think that's something.
You mean from the teacher's point of view, Tina?
Yes. Teacher's point of view and the student's point of view, so from everybody's point of view. So in that way, it should be sort of. But this is of course problem with projects. So Niilo and Marilina and everyone of us, we have been involved in many projects, in Comenius projects and Erasmus projects and eTwinning projects, and also probably local projects, and the thing is about them is that it sort of changes the school culture for a while, but when the project is over, very quickly everything returns to the same as before. So
if it's not somehow built in the curriculum.
And your sort of principal, your head teacher should be sort of the one who would lead to be a leader of change or so that it would become an element in your school culture, and that way element of every if not every day, then every year learning. So but it is, and this is something that is problem with the projects, and this is what also European Union and Commission has realized, that how do we sort of make the results of these kind of projects sort of part of the school school culture, sure. So that they.
But I think it should be built in. It should be built in. I mean, what you're doing right now, Tina, in Finland, I guess that's one way of trying to achieve this. Yeah. But like talking about international collaboration, so I think that I've been talking about this with my colleagues and my school here as well, that why not guarantee that all our students, when they are done here, they have been involved in say, international collaboration, or whatever. I mean, international collaboration in some way. It doesn't need to be that they've been traveling around the world, and I guess it can be. It wouldn't make sense either. But they would have been. We could guarantee that they have been involved in international collaboration somehow during the years they've been in our school, and that is something that is definitely possible to do.
I was thinking a little bit about the school I know of in Copenhagen in Denmark, and I think it was maybe a private school, but I'm not altogether certain. Klaus and Ebbe will know more about that. But they had made it compulsory to participate in an e-twinning project. So at the whole school, in all the subjects. So I met two of the students at a seminar, and they had to make projects. So it would be very interesting to see what they thought after maybe some time and their evaluation, what that is. Because I see in my school that this year I'm trying to run projects that goes in with the curricular. So I have grade 10, and in a few weeks we have exams, but we started a new e-twinning project last week. And it's just with three partner schools, and we're doing Shakespeare in English. And of course we are working a lot in the classes, but we are sharing what we are doing. It's hard to make it a lot of collaboration, but we'll see. Maybe we can manage some, and it's more than nothing. So I'm trying some small projects to do with within the curriculum, and see. So this time it's Shakespeare, and we're dramatizing a little bit and trying to have a little bit of fun, even though we have exams looming. Talking about testing. So
sounds good.
Yes, I think it's good, but it's. I see with the colleagues that many colleagues are afraid because it will take too much time. And I think time is the currency. You have to be willing to pay.
Yep.
And for a teacher, with colleagues, I think sometimes it seems that it will be too much, and maybe the confidence is not too big. So I think maybe small projects could maybe be an easier way to start. Maybe a few weeks.
Yeah, small projects can be a big thing.
Yes.
Yes, of course. But what I always think is that somehow teachers tend to think, this is of course the idea when you are very sort of subject oriented and live in the limits, that you know sort of do things in concurrently, so that first you study this, and then you study this, and then you study this, and then you don't have time for anything else. But if you think of projects, so and the collaboration and things like that, so you learn a lot of things simultaneously. You learn so it's not like and that's what you've got to have, this pedagogical sort of vision of how and what competencies, what skills, what contents you are learning within a project, and then you can show, okay, we did this and did that, and actually in a 3-week project we learned much more than we actually would have done if we had studied following the textbook.
And
Yeah,
it gives this authenticity also for the students. They know that what they're making, they are sharing with the students in Twin Space, and we'll see how much collaboration we'll see. But the audience is authentic. That's,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
this is something I always tell teachers when I presented twinning. I said, do not make it an extra project. Just include in it what you would normally teach. Just use it as a different strategy for teaching. It's not
Right.
something extra that you have to do, like doing it, for instance, in the afternoon. We do not have lesson usually in the afternoon, so doing it as an afternoon project. But just do it in your classrooms as you do anything else.
that's good.
Right. I guess we must be wrapping up soon. And Tina, I must say I'm impressed. You made it all the way through.
Yeah, yeah. It's always when you sort of get excited and when you start to talk, and you forget you are having temperature, and
Yeah. When you get
exciting again.
when you get
Yeah.
fired up, there's no way to stop it, Tina.
No, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
but this is very typical. Is that actually that I've had no sick days in 3 years, and now I had a bit of I've been doing evaluations and then the learning event and a lot of things that are extra. So it's so I've been working really long days and hours for
that's
1
a typical,
month.
That's a typical
And when
teacher.
it stops,
Yeah.
because today is the last day of the learning event. When that stops, the stress sort of gets off. Then from I don't know where it came. Just yesterday, very suddenly, boom. 39 was.
It's the teacher syndrome. You keep
favorite,
going,
yeah.
keep going,
Yeah.
keep going until the job is done, and then
You have a
it's a
vacation.
weekend or whatever, then you are wiped out
Yes,
completely.
right. Yeah.
The vacation
Yeah.
comes and you get the temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody
right.
says that you have to rest.
The final couple of final thoughts here, or at least one about the getting back to the new core curriculum in Finland. It's supposed to be done by next year, Tina, or what?
It's in 2016 from August 2016 it should be implemented. So
I think it's interesting, especially since considering that the latest PISA score wasn't just quite as good as the other. Okay, you're still leading in the Nordic area, I guess, but they weren't right exactly at the top. And you could have imagined that Finland would have chosen another path, like more maths, more biology, more this and that, more of all the subjects. But that didn't happen. You took the opposite way and made this more holistic way of thinking the path to go, and I really like that. It's pretty impressive, really.
Yes, and for the first time, it's also about how you do things, so how you learn and how you teach. It's not and that I think is a major change, because that has been the teacher's privilege to do it the way she or he wants to do it. But this time we go on that thing that somehow it's not that teachers can choose. They have to use methods that are student-centered, that are where students learn different competencies and skills, and this is a major change. And I can tell you also, Helene, that in the new core curriculum, our students are obliged to have an international partner or a project during their basic education. So.
I like it a lot.
There's really nothing that stops
Yeah.
individual schools from doing that, and I really think we should do
Yeah.
it. We definitely
Yeah.
should do it.
Yeah, it's there now, and that's one of my thing to go around Finland and say how they can do that and
It
what
will
they
be
can do
really
to
really interesting to hear more about this later on,
Mm.
Tina, when when the
actually
curriculum
starts.
is there and
Yeah.
everything is rolling. It'll be
Yeah.
really interesting. Looking forward
Yeah.
to that.
Me too.
Final thoughts, words, anyone before we go home? I feel it's time to go home. I'm still at work. I
Yeah.
don't know about
Me
you.
too.
Usually
I've
goes
got,
home.
I've got,
Usually goes home after lunch. We stay here like all day, all night almost.
I've got a final thought myself from what has been said during this meeting, and I understood one thing, that the most important thing is teachers, and the success of Finland is probably due to the fact that teachers have got a high status, and that not just everybody can become a teacher. I mean, I see what happens here in Italy. In Italy, as soon as you graduate from university, you can be sent in front of a classroom, which is crazy, just crazy, because you don't know what to do, you don't know how to manage your classroom, you are really lost. If you're good enough, you can make your way, otherwise you're lost. And so I think that that is the point, and the success of Finnish education is in the teachers and
Understanding
the
the pedagogy.
quality, understanding pedagogy and being trained as teachers. I mean, in Italy there is very little training for teachers. I mean, we do not have any practical training as teachers. We have universities do organize courses now, but very often these courses are run by university teachers who have never been before a classroom, so they don't know what teaching is about, really. They just give you theories of what is, connectivism or behaviorism or these sort of theories, but they know nothing about what real teaching is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I heard once that to become a more experienced teacher and to feel confident as a teacher, you might have to work 5 years.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
makes
think
sense.
in Finland there was a study about that. So, and they said the difference is actually it's even longer. It's almost like 9 years when they say that you grow the confidence that you can really manage in the classroom and so on.
I think it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Guess what? Now I'm going to quote
Okay.
a friend, I might say, and also I'd say a pro podcaster from the U.S. by the name of Jim Collison. He has this tagline: "Go live or go home." We've been live for quite a while, so
Now we're going home.
I'd say it's just about time to go home.
I'm home.
I'm
already.
Have a nice afternoon, everyone.
Been a blast, and especially a huge thank you, Tina. This wouldn't have worked without you, and especially since you are not like perhaps 100%. You are pretty sharp when you are only 90%, I must say.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot, everyone. And
Thank you.
you guys on air.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.